Conservatives suddenly have a fear of the water.
We'll plunge the depths of that story and more today on the Undercurrent. Whoa! I have a fear of water too.
Don't people with rabies have a fear of the water?
That's hydrophobia.
Right, but
Is
isn't hydrophobia a symptom of rabies?
I don't know. That's aquaphobia is the fear of water. Hydrophobia just means you have rabies, I think. But I'm no doctor. Don't at me, bro. Good morning.
Good morning. Good to see you, Max. Good to see you, Janina. It's good to see everybody today.
My insane ass is up on 2 hours sleep. Let's go, bitches. Well, you should get some sleep, Yodina. Come on. Don't hurt yourself. Yes. Good. It's tax day. It's April 15th. That is correct. And of course, your tax dollars, well, according to some people, are going to places you don't want them to go, but water wet, sky blue. What else is new, right? How you doing, Lainey?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Did you know that in other countries, you don't submit your tax returns? You don't have to do all this crap?
Really?
Yeah, I mean, apparently they, that you get a tax bill. They which they're already getting the information from your employers or the companies that you're contracting with, and they just send it to you and you deal with it. Here we make people go through all these hoops, and if they don't, it can be considered a crime. Did you know that Harold Washington, the former mayor of Chicago, actually did something like 30 days in jail? Not because of any kind of tax evasion, but because he didn't file. He didn't owe any taxes. He just didn't file once, and they wanted him. They wanted to get on something, and that's what they did. I mean,
wow,
it was insane. Max, it's good to see you. Yeah, Max, I'm in full agreement. This is all nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that's the land of the free, home of the complicated, is what America is now. And taxes may not be the only thing people are going to be worried about as all this business overseas is going on. Let's get to the riptide. And we got flying. I know you like to fly, Lainey.
I do.
Might get a little more pricey as airlines warn of jet fuel shortage, spiraling costs amid U.S. blockade of Hormuz. We'll get to all the Iran war stuff later in the show, but this is more for the homeland that affecting us here. So major European and Australian airlines are warning of a deepening crisis from a lack of jet fuel resulting from the closure of the Strait of Hormuz amid the ongoing U.S.-Israeli war on Iran, according to Reuters. Australia's Qantas Airways. Man, I haven't heard Qantas. Remember the Qantas commercials?
Yeah, I remember that. I just haven't heard the name in so long.
Yeah, I know. It's like, they used to have commercials all the time, and then now nothing, I guess. Well, they can't afford advertising if the fuel costs are high. So Qantas Airways caution of spiraling costs. Germany's Lufthansa said it may have to ground planes, while Britain's Virgin Atlantic raised the alarm of a looming supply crunch as the Iran war causes fuel shortages, the news agency wrote on Tuesday. Wow, Virgin Atlantic sound like they're screwed. Since the war began 6 weeks ago, the U.S. and Israeli bombing campaign on Iran and Iranian ballistic missiles and drone attacks in retaliation have disrupted airline routes between Asia and Europe that rely on stopovers at major Gulf airports, including in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Kuwait. Jet fuel shortages have also emerged because oil and other petrochemical products produced by the Gulf states cannot currently be transported through the Strait of Hormuz, which has been closed since the start of the war in late February. The doubling of jet fuel prices and tightening of supplies are hitting airlines hard, Reuters added, forcing carriers to hike airfares. Passing the savings on to you. No, wait, not savings. That's more money. Introduce fuel surcharges and cut routes. Lufthansa CEO Carsten Spohr, that's an interesting name, warned that jet fuel shortages are driving up costs. Kerosene will remain in short supply and therefore more expensive for the rest of the year, Spohr told German newspaper Frankfurter Allgemeine Zeitung. You have to say it loud with the if it's a Z word in German. It's a law. It's not my law. I didn't make that up. Spohr also said that canceling flights may be unavoidable as kerosene availability is already critical at some airports, particularly in Asia, to weather the storm. Qantas is using koala power. Qantas is seeking to preserve cash and has delayed a planned share buyback. Oh, they're not buying back their own stocks and artificially inflating the price of their company. Oh, that's too bad. South Korean budget airline TWA plans to furlough some cabin crew without pay for the next 2 months. The doubling of jet fuel prices since the start of the war is difficult for airlines to absorb, as it typically accounts for about 27% of operating expenses. Virgin Atlantic CEO Cornel Koster told the Financial Times that the airline has about 6 weeks of jet fuel supplies in reserve. Once those are gone, the outlook gets more uncertain. European airlines on Tuesday urged Brussels to intervene to soften the impact of the crisis, including implementing EU-level purchases of kerosene, temporarily suspending the bloc's carbon market for aviation, which forces airlines to purchase verified emission units or offsets to cover international flight emissions above a set baseline, and suspending certain aviation taxes. I understood the last part. That other part, I was like, what? In a speech Monday, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen offered no immediate solution to the energy crisis affecting Europe, saying only that the Europeans should use less fuel and transition to renewable energy sources over time. The cheapest energy is the one you don't use, she stated. And plus, we're too busy worrying about surveilling you.
Wait, yeah, I would point out, typically speaking, if you're at least 30 days out, here in Northwest Arkansas, a plane ticket back home on American Airlines normally runs around $200. I'm just checking now for something that's coming up for a flight in early June, and it's now at $269. But I guess that 69 helps preserve the virginity.
Yeah. Wait, I think we have a gong in here somewhere. Maybe we could do that for the Gong Show for bad jokes like that. You'd be gonging me all day. No, you're right.
We had some folks showing up too. Good to see everybody. But yeah, this I was just listening to NPR this morning, and they had a report from Britain's finance minister, and she is apoplectic. She's just saying, this decision to do this with no real plan. No real goal, no real plan is causing immense pain. And apparently, according to the IMF, the UK is going to get hit really hard with this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And coming to an America near you, it's probably going to be here too. So, it's funny how with gas fuel prices, right? Trump keeps saying, well, we've got the biggest reserves in the world. We got all this oil. It's like, but the prices of oil are determined by the market worldwide, not by how much oil you have here. So what happens is that rich oil people in America, they get paid. They're getting, they're making hand over fist. Meanwhile, you're paying $6, $7, $8 a gallon if you're lucky in some places, because the longer this goes on, the higher those prices, like gas or for cars and for airplanes, and probably for other transportation that uses petrol, that uses fuel. That's probably those prices are going to go up too. So yes, stay vigilant. Learn how to grow feathers on your arms and see if you can save a few bucks on the airlines. Our government is full of just crappy people. You know that, Lainey. Our folks here, they know this too. We got John and Ronan in here. Of course, Willie's snuck in here too. It's good to see you.
Love it when Willie sneaks in.
He's a sneaky Willie. He is. Stop it. Speaking of sneaky Willie, is Eric Swalwell. How you like that, King of
Yeah, he
Segway?
swole well, didn't he?
Yeah, he's not very swell today. Two U.S. and not one, but two U.S. congressmen resign over sex scandals. Yikes!
America, your leaders.
How'd you like to be in a sex scandal with this guy? Yikes!
Ugh.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Democrat Eric Swalwell and Republican Tony Gonzalez. Bipartisan creepiness. That's wonderful. Have said they will resign from the U.S. House of Representatives following accusations of sexual misconduct. Swalwell, first elected to Congress in 2013, denied the allegations, claiming they were part of an effort to derail his campaign for governor of his home state of California, where he has been one of the top contenders. He suspended his campaign on Sunday and announced plans to leave Congress the following day. I'm deeply sorry for my family, staff, and constituents for mistakes and judgment I've made in the past, Swalwell said in a statement on the tweeters. He criticized calls for a vote to expel him, but added that it's also wrong for my constituents to have me distracted from my duties. Well, I think you distracted yourself from your duties.
Your duties,
there, pal.
yeah.
That's probably why you're.
That's
well,
probably
why you're not.
He's saying, he's denying the accusations, but he's also saying mistakes in judgment. Okay, he just said a whole lot of nothing.
Well, according to CNN, 4 women have accused Swalwell of misconduct, including a former staffer who alleged that the politician raped her in 2019 and 2024 while she was heavily intoxicated. Other women alleged that Swalwell groped them and sent explicit messages and nude photos. In 2023, Swalwell was removed from the House Intelligence Committee following an Axios report that he had. He's Swalwell. Yes, that name is just like
jokes make themselves.
I know. If you're in middle school, those jokes they just write themselves. That he had contacts with a suspected Chinese intelligence operative. Gonzalez, a Republican from Texas, suspended his reelection campaign last month after it was revealed that he had an affair with an aide who died by suicide last year. Gonzalez, who was first elected to Congress in 2021, admitted to the affair, describing it as a lapse in judgment. There's another lapse in judgment. On Monday, he said he would formally submit his resignation the next day when Congress returns to session. But wait, there's more. It's a double dip as ex-Congressman Eric Swalwell faces a second sexual assault probe. Holy shnikes. First it was now it's another one. A second woman came forward to accuse Swalwell of rape on Tuesday as the California Democrat and would-be governor resigned his seat in Congress, leaving him the subject of sexual assault investigations by law enforcement on both U.S. coasts. Former Beverly Hills model and software entrepreneur Lana Drews is also the 5th woman to accuse Swalwell of sexual misconduct in recent days, deepening a scandal that prompted him to announce his resignation from the House. And then there's the rest of that there. Basically, that's just an addendum to that other story there. But yeah, there's not that great amount of faith in our government as it is, but when stuff like this happens, it's like and this is the stuff that we know about.
This is stuff that we know about and that we hear about.
And
the whole lapse in judgment thing, a lapse in judgment is when I buy a dress that is outside my budget.
Yeah, same here. I'm always buying expensive dresses for myself. I like to feel pretty, damn it. But no, exactly.
Yeah, that's a lapse in judgment. That is, when your penis ends up where it ought not be, that's not a lapse in judgment.
That's what the kids call a choice. And you made that choice, and there's only a lapse. You ever notice there's only a lapse in judgment when people get caught?
Yeah, they don't
always
come
notice
out
that.
and say, you know what, I am resigning now because I've had my come to Jesus moment and I realized that I did something very bad and I am not fit for this office. I'm moving on. It's always, I'm denying this happened and I don't want any distractions, but I did have a lapse in judgment.
Right.
Um,
I think
yeah.
that's the key. It's like if someone just had like a crisis of conscience and they say, I can't do this anymore. I need to come clean. And they do that. Yeah, that might be political suicide, but at least you would, yeah, you may still, be seen as
You're
a
owning
creep.
up to it.
Yeah, at least you're owning up to it. I guess, and and I think that's probably why they don't own up to it, because there's like the juice ain't, there's probably no juice to that squeeze. If you admit to something, that all they're going to do is just tear you up anyway, so you might as well deny until you can't deny anymore. Yeah. So and I don't know, maybe we'll see more, but I think him resigning from the House, that's big news too. But the thing is that he was one of the top candidates for governor of California.
Yeah.
That's the one that's probably going to hurt the most, because now who has the open floor on the Democratic side? That's Newsom. Newsom really doesn't have any real competition now for governor. Is it Newsom? Yeah.
Yeah.
Not Newsom. No, never mind. Newsom's not running, right? I'm thinking of presidency. Forget all that stuff. Forget. But don't forget this. There's more creep news we have for you today involving Harvey Weinstein. You're like, well, how's he doing anything? He's in jail, right? Well, jury trial selection starts for Harvey Weinstein's latest retrial in a New York rape case. I promise you this is not a theme today. This is just how things fell in the news cycle, and everything else is kind of in other parts of the show today. So after years of Me Too infamy, legal peril, and prison, Harvey Weinstein is again going on trial on a rape charge in New York City. Jury selection started yesterday in the one-time movie mogul's latest retrial, where jurors will weigh for the third time whether he raped hairstylist Jessica Mann in a Manhattan hotel in 2013. It's a more streamlined proceeding than the array of allegations that were aired at Weinstein's previous trials in New York and LA. The Oscar-winning producer denies all the accusations and declared in court this winter that he had acted wrongly, but I never assaulted anyone. Maybe he had a lapse in judgment. That seems to be that's the prom theme, lapse in judgment. Still, the retrial is expected to last up to 6 weeks. Question about the length of the proceeding and whether they could be fair and impartial about the much publicized case. More than 80 people asked to be excused during initial screening Tuesday morning. The day ended with no jurors chosen. The process is scheduled to resume today, with prospective jurors being questioned individually in private about their knowledge of the case and Weinstein. Wider-ranging questioning in court should follow eventually. In a surprise move before jury selection began, prosecutors said they had a new piece of evidence, a remark that Weinstein allegedly made to a court officer 6 years ago. According to Manhattan Assistant District Attorney Candace White, the officer told prosecutors last week that he was present during Weinstein's February 2020 sexual assault conviction, which was later overturned, and heard Weinstein say, if you had seen these girls, you would have done the exact same thing. Weinstein's lawyers urged Judge Curtis Farber to keep any mention of the supposed remark out of the upcoming retrial. This sounds far-fetched, defense attorney Mark Agnifilo said, also arguing that it emerged too late, a subject that was explored in prior trials. A claims fund for women who said Weinstein sexually mistreated them likely won't come up again. The defense team doesn't intend to raise the subject, Farber said. So yeah, it's like, it just seems like all the creepiness now is like just rising to the surface. Now, this isn't even like Me Too. This is just like investigative journalism. This is just like things that are happening, more information coming out. about these people, not just, Weinstein, but or Swalwell, or just anybody that's trying to hide their illicit, disgusting things. And it's hard to stay. It's hard to not get caught these days. And that's probably one of the few good things about today. It's easier to get caught doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah. One of the things that really got me about the Harvey Weinstein case also was what that man was doing to the careers of women actresses who did not go along with him. And Mia Sorvino, she's a prime case. I mean, she was an Academy Award winner. She was doing well, and he torpedoed her career. And just it's incredibly reprehensible. And we all know, of course, that Hollywood and fame, that's all about politics and who you know, but it really laid bare just to what degree one person can, destroy the career of somebody who is legitimately talented. And, it's not just Hollywood either, right? This sort of thing is going on all over the place, which is why sexual harassment is a crime. It's something that it's not allowed. It's illegal in the United States. And even though it's not often handled correctly, it kind of lays bare what can happen to human beings when they are trying to compete in the market, in the employment market. And I think that people maybe didn't pay as much attention to that. I mean, the man's creepy. This whole situation has been awful, but also seeing what can happen to the economic prospects of individuals who are being targeted by predators like this, and what happens to them financially, economically, in their careers.
The only thing I ever worry about when there is like a number of people who are caught doing this at one time, or at least within a period of time, is if actual innocent people get caught up in it too. There tends to be well, that person too's doing it. And it's like, well, where's your proof? I don't need proof. I just, that kind of thing. And it's like, well, no, you need, you kind of, let's not, let's get the people who are doing this shit. But at the same time, let's not drag people into who may actually have not done anything wrong. There needs to be a little more nuance when it comes to that stuff. And, sometimes cooler heads prevail, but sometimes you hear some hot heads online and you're like, okay. How do you know all this? And then all of a sudden the pitchforks and torches are coming out and they're coming after Frankenstein. So, I know, what's up, Jackie? Good to see you. I know we confuse people sometimes. We are on 3 different YouTube channels right now. We're on, of course, The Undercurrent, which, if you haven't subscribed to The Undercurrent, please do so.
Please do so.
And oh wait, I forgot to do something. Hold on a second. Is it this one? Okay, yeah. All right, so we have our little our things down here that you can subscribe to The Undercurrent. Please, and thank you. But we're on my channel too, Extra Bullet. We're on Laney's channel. Of course, we're on a couple of Facebook channels, Laney and mine's. And we're also on Substack, our Undercurrent .substack.com for you. Just want to throw that out there, just so you know. So we'll of course next week we'll have more of these top stories for you, but right now it's time to get to the catch of the day, if I can find the thing here. And Laney, there's something in the water and it's scaring Republicans. What's that about?
And the weird thing about this, Uncle Warren, this is going back about 20 years ago or more, but it was being handled in a slightly different way. And it is chemical abortion pills kill babies, harm women, and pollute our drinking water. So the latest attack on women's reproductive autonomy is being positioned as an environmental concern. Now, I want to make a point here. It was only earlier this year that the EPA finally declared the water emergency in Flint, Michigan to be over. That was 7.5 years, if not more, of them having unsafe drinking water. Nobody cared. despite getting publicity, despite people, all the attention, it took that long for that water emergency to be declared not happening anymore, done and over with. So
let me ask you a quick question about
yeah.
that. Was that the time when Obama came to Flint and did his little trick with the drinking the water, and he's like, "Oh, so nothing wrong with this water, everything's fine"? And was it then, or was it after? Or did they not people buy that bullshit? And it was later that they said, "Okay, now it's over."
It just happened. Apparently, the EPA was, and this is under Trump's EPA, so who knows? Because the EPA is actually going to be involved with what's happening here. But the EPA just finally earlier this year said the emergency is over and that the water is safe to drink. By the way, people in Flint are not buying this, but there it is.
Yeah.
So what is going on right now is that there is a call on the part of some conservatives, not all, but some conservatives, to make it to try to protect water by requiring women who are having either a miscarriage or are undergoing a chemical abortion, which is usually done at home, to, instead of doing what she would normally do, is you sit on the toilet, and the contents of the uterus are expelled, and that is that you flush the toilet, and that's that. Now they want them to require them to use so-called catch kits. And these are kits that you put in something you put in the toilet to collect the various the contents of the uterus. These are then bagged up, and then these women are expected to then take these bags back to their doctor's office.
What?
And the argument that they're making at this point is that if a woman is having the products of a miscarriage, and as well, and the residue of any abortion pill, or any kind of a pill that can cause an abortion, or that is used to treat a miscarriage, and I'll talk about that in a second, is getting into the water systems and is polluting the water systems. Now, first of all, I don't like what this has to say about our water filtration and treatment policies here in the United States. This is rhetoric that I remember from at least 20 years ago, when there was a growing attack on oral contraceptives. And what they were arguing is that women who were using oral or contraceptives, or the shot or the implants, those chemicals were coming out in women's urine. They were getting into the water system, and they were making boys gay.
Making boys gay, right? Yeah. Okay. And okay. I'm sure they had scientific evidence.
Oh, yeah. So very scientific. Yeah.
Right.
But now this is the latest that they're doing. And I've got some sources in the show notes. I've been putting out our link tree. You can go back to our Substack and get our show notes. I would recommend subscribing to them. We'll send them out to you. It's free. There'll never be a charge for that. But you can actually check this out, some of these stories. And the frogs. You're right. And they were saying that was making the frogs gay. Thank you for that memory. They were saying.
Thank you, Jackie.
Yeah. Frogs were becoming gay or hermaphrodites.
Oh yeah, that was Alex Jones, right? They're turning the frogs gay. Yeah, I like meat. I like my wife, and they're turning the frogs gay. What's going on? You're like, what? Yeah. What the hell are you saying, man?
it was nuts. So now that is the latest approach, and apparently the EPA under MAHA and all with the MAHA culture, Make America Healthy Again, is actually considering doing this. I believe it's in Ohio that they're pushing for bills that would force women to do this. Now, let's just kind of scroll this back here. Okay, first of all, it is estimated that 50% or more of fertilized eggs never result in a live pregnancy. They spontaneously, they never implant. There's a spontaneous miscarriage. So miscarriages are happening all the time. Women may not even know about it. And the woman who is having a miscarriage may in fact have some hormones in her body. She may have, she may be taking some kind of a hormone therapy of some nature, whatever. this could still get into the water system, but they're now trying to say that if a woman is taking any kind of pills or she's having a miscarriage, she needs to be able to catch that. Well, how does she distinguish that between menstruation or other kinds of bleeding that do happen? I mean, this is women's bodies. This is the sort of thing that's been happening for a long time. Secondly, what the hell are the doctor's offices supposed to be doing when they suddenly have got 20 women or 30 women a day coming in with baggies full of biohazard material? What does that do to these doctors' offices and these clinics? The chemical abortions have been managed for quite some time, very effectively. It works. A woman goes home, and she can talk to a nurse. There's always a hotline or something that she can call and get assistance. If she has to go to an ER, she does that. But the point is, they know how to manage these situations. This has all been manageable. And now there's even talk, and this is really blowing my mind. They're saying that they now have technology where they can be testing groundwater and water in rivers and that sort of thing, and then they can determine which block. On which block of a street this water is coming from. Now, I don't believe this for a second. I believe that this is a way to terrorize women.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're doing this at a time when many women are afraid to get any kind of reproductive health care or any health care at all. There are women, for example, who are undocumented or who are immigrants and are afraid that they're going to be met at the hospital by ICE agents. Mm-hmm. And that could very easily happen. We know that this can happen. Number two, we have women, again, in many states where abortion is illegal and who might not seek any kind of medical help at all, or would be afraid to bring these kids in because they could be accused of having an abortion or triggering an abortion. And even if they are again, women could be afraid of menstruation at this point. Because again, a lot of women miscarry regularly, have no idea that they've miscarried. And you'll also notice something else, Uncle Warren. There's been a big trend, particularly among the macho Maha types, with testosterone therapy. You'll notice that testosterone, they're not concerned about those hormones getting into the water.
Yeah, that's true. And there are a lot of commercials touting these testosterone products too, because there's a whole bunch out there for sure.
There's a whole lot of drugs that that people are going to pee out.
Yeah.
And they're not looking at and those drugs could have all kinds of effects on people. But they're targeting some very, very specific ones.
Mm-hmm.
So, any case, what we're looking here is a way, I think, first of all, to terrorize the population, particularly women or anybody who happens to love or live with a woman. We're looking at a way to get women to think that there's perhaps more surveillance going on than there actually is. I really do not believe that most local police departments want to be knocking door to door because groundwater in an area shows that somebody on the block potentially had a miscarriage or potentially used an abortion drug. And also, the other thing to keep in mind, these so-called abortion drugs are not just used to terminate pregnancies. They are also used to manage miscarriages. Sometimes somebody will have a miscarriage and they'll give the woman a drug that they use to, hasten the process along, to empty out the uterus so there's less risk of an infection. And they will do that as well. Otherwise, they have to monitor the situation. Previously, before these drugs were being used this way, women might have to go in and have an outpatient surgical procedure, which was painful, expensive, required downtime. It was not a great use of medical resources. Mm-hmm. So this is where we're at. It took 7.5 years, at least, more than that actually, for Flint, Michigan to finally get safe water. And people don't even trust that at this point. But all of a sudden, conservatives are up in arms about the quality of water.
Yeah. Jacqueline has a comment here. It says, also, if the father doesn't want a child, it would be so easy for him to put something that could cause an abortion in his girlfriend's food or water, knowing full well that she'd probably get the blame. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
with that's the thing
Yeah,
with these
great
pills like
point.
that. Yeah. That could totally happen. And then, and she wouldn't even know.
Yeah.
She'd never even know. And then God knows what would happen to her legally after that. Right.
Yeah, and it would not be difficult for people in a community to fake this sort of thing. If you had EPA workers out there and they have something against that community, they've got a problem with the community, and we know federal government has a problem with many communities, they could, very easily come up with a false positive on the results or whatever they wanted to do, which could lead to further law enforcement in the area. Remember, ICE has now been emboldened to do it. The federal government has no problem with effectively having a rogue police force. And right now, we know that they're targeting people who may or may not have illegal immigration status, and of course they have no problem with shooting and killing people who find this objectionable, their tactics objectionable. What happens when we now start having, say, the EPA suddenly has a militarized constabulary that goes around, not necessarily militarized, but it's certainly a constabulary that goes beyond just simply being a regulatory investigator, but is now making decisions about whether an area needs to be monitored for illegal abortions on the grounds that this community is tainting the water supply.
Yeah.
Here's
and they
where
don't
we're at.
right. And the whole thing, like when you were talking about like we'll know which block it came from. It's like, no, you won't. There's not, I mean, even if you could, it's like, yeah, this is like some serious getting into Handmaid's Tale territory.
It is getting into that, and it is getting into that, and it is incredible. They're using environmental protection as a ruse here. I mean, it didn't work 20 years ago, and it said that it was making frogs and boys gay.
Right.
But now they're saying, well, this is tainting the water supply. And and then you look with other questions too. What about people who are traveling? Women who are traveling. What if a woman travels to a nearby state to get the pills and stops at a truck stop along the way? This is the kind of tracing and tracking of women's bodies that could be happening at this point. It boggles the mind what will happen to women, what will happen to communities if this kind of nonsense is allowed to continue. And I want to make folks aware of it. Jessica Valenti is doing some good work. Abortion every day. She's doing that on Substack. You might want to track that. But for right now, again, this is the sort of thing that interferes with real health care. It draws resources away from actual attempts to protect the environment and protect the safety of water. And it also terrorizes the population. And it may keep women from actually getting health care, which isn't good for anybody.
Yeah, which is funny because there was I'd read a few years back if we had like universal health care in this country, 60 to 70, I can't remember the number exactly, but like 60 to 70% of women who have abortions wouldn't have abortions because that was their main reason for having an abortion, because they couldn't afford a child, because they couldn't afford the health care for it. But Republicans don't seem to care about us having universal health care, because once you have that, then it's kind of hard to control people. And another thing about the water, it's very hypocritical to say, oh, well, we'll check in the water for these chemicals, but yet, and at the same time, you have like all these factories and stuff just dumping waste into rivers and streams. And oh, well, even if it's regulated, you can still dump a certain amount into these rivers. And it's like, well, what's the difference there? Why that makes it sound more like they're coming after women and trying to intimidate women, you know?
Yeah, because they're not going after testosterone.
No, no.
Yeah, they're not going after steroids.
They
You
think
know,
they think women are easy to intimidate, and the women I know, no.
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 But yeah, and I would also, just point out, there was recently some information about the demographic shifts with people are not having children, as many children. And one of the things that was attributed was teen pregnancy has been on the decline. Now, for decades, it was, ranting and raving about those terrible teen mothers who go out and have children and leech off the welfare system. And now I'm hearing noises from some conservative wings. Well, why aren't more teenagers having babies?
Yeah, I saw that. I was
Yeah,
like,
why aren't more teenagers having babies? And by the way, typically particularly with the younger teenagers who have babies, the fathers of these babies are usually adult men. They're significantly older. So that makes for a very convenient situation where men can, if they wanted to, have a lot more control over a much younger partner. And again,
Right.
also you hear from various legislators who oppose laws that restrict marriage licenses to people over 18 or over. They want those special exceptions for teenagers who say, "Oh, get into trouble and get pregnant." Mighty convenient, isn't it?
Was it? I smell. What is it? Hypocrisy? Yeah, that smells. Yeah, it smells definitely like hypocrisy there, and control too, and of course another part of the surveillance state.
And and as John Kemper, enough of the managing women's bodies. Did Peter's come up with this too? Again, if you are, I don't. We can discuss terms here, but the point of the matter is, if you are an adult man who wants to have control over a very young girl, getting her pregnant is one way to do that, and forcing the pregnancy to go along keeps her enmeshed. I remember meeting a young lady. When she was 14 years old, she gave birth to a child. The father of the child was 27. And he immediately sued her for custody and won. And the judge it never apparently occurred to the judge that this is a 27-year-old man who has impregnated a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah,
just putting that out there.
Yeah. That's why we have to stay frosty, folks, because not everything is it appears, right? They're trying to make this out to be some sort of health situation, and it's absolutely not that. It's totally like surveillance, control, and fear tactics.
Yeah, it is
exactly what it is. That's the standard MO of this party too.
Yeah,
to do that. Speaking of fear tactics, let's let us get to, if I can do a thing here, the recurring tide. Put on your swimmers. That's I think that's for Jacqueline. She's across the pond. Don't they call swimsuit swimmers over there, Jack? I could be wrong. She's like, shut up, you don't know anything about the UK.
Well, I'm doing a trivia night this right after this show with a bunch of folks in the UK. It's going to be myself and a bunch of Brits. Should be a lot of fun.
Yes. What's not fun is ice. Yes, I am the king of Segway. Minnesota. Yeah, exactly. They're always frosty, even when they have their meltdowns. See what I did there? Minnesota prosecutor probes ICE arrest of St. Paul resident as possible abduction. Yeah, so this is one of the things we had feared when you have ICE agents that have no identification, wearing masks, and just basically running rogue, like you were talking about. So prosecutors in Minnesota are investigating whether some of the most infamous images of the Trump administration's immigration crackdown in the Twin Cities earlier this year actually captured a kidnapping when U.S. citizen Chongli Scott Tao was filmed being taken from his home by federal agents in freezing temperatures, wearing only his underwear with a blanket wrapped around him. I remember seeing that video. They were just kind of talking him out there. Ramsey County Attorney I get that. It should be, is that county maybe? Country Attorney John Choi, whose jurisdiction covers St. Paul, where Tao was arrested in January, said at a press conference Monday that he has requested information from the Department of Homeland Security about the man's arrest. There are many facts we don't know yet, but there's one that we do know, and that is that Mr. Tao is and has been an American citizen. There's not a dispute over this, Sheriff Bob Fletcher said at the press conference. The officials said they are investigating whether the agents could face criminal charges for kidnapping, burglary, and false imprisonment. Well, if they're not being charged with murder twice, I don't think you're going to see these either. U.S. ICE agents arrived without a warrant at the home of Tao, that he shares with his son, daughter-in-law, and 4-year-old grandson on January 18th, and forced their way in, brandishing their guns at the family as they handcuffed Tao. They did not allow Tao's daughter-in-law to get proof of his citizenship. The 56-year-old has been a U.S. citizen for decades after his mother fled Laos in the 1970s. We believe there was no legitimate legal reason for the federal agents to enter that home. It was not supported by probable cause, said Choi. Without giving him a chance to get dressed, the agents then hauled Tao out of his home into the 14-degree temperatures as his neighbors yelled and blew whistles at the officers demanding his release. They drove him around for nearly an hour before arriving at a remote area and demanding that he get out of the car and show his ID, which he hadn't been allowed to bring. They determined he was a U.S. citizen with no criminal record and drove him back home. I'm amazed they actually drove him back home. There was one kid, like they picked him up at a Target and found out he was a citizen, and they ended up dropping him off at Walmart or some business like miles away. This was in another state, I think. Fletcher said federal agents switched the license plates of the vehicle used during the arrest, violating Minnesota law and leaving authorities with no knowledge of the identities of the officers who arrested Tao. There's no dispute that he was taken out of his home, forcibly taken out of his home and driven around, said Fletcher at the press conference. Is that good law enforcement, to take an American citizen out of their home and drive them around aimlessly, trying to determine what they can tell them? One observer said the officials are finally starting to call the terror ICE is inflicting on communities what it actually is: kidnapping. If regular people did this, they'd be in prison, they said. So why aren't the agents? In keeping with the Trump administration's response to widespread condemnation of its immigration crackdown and the conduct of its federal agents, the Department of Homeland Security told the New York Times that Choi's investigation into the arrest was a political stunt to demonize ICE law enforcement. I think the ICE law enforcement,
they've done a good job of being
doing that
pretty
themselves
satanic on their own. Yeah,
they don't need any help there.
Yeah, they don't need demons.
The agency has claimed the officers were looking for 2 convicted sex offenders, one of whom has reportedly been in state prison since 2024. Simple phone call probably could have solved that. Choi said Monday that there is no evidence the federal agents had a judicial warrant to enter Tao's home. The arrest took place days before a whistleblower group reported on an ICE memo which claimed that, according to the DHS Office of the General Counsel, the U.S. Constitution, the Immigration and Nationality Act, and the immigration regulations do not prohibit relying on administrative warrants in order to enter a home to make an arrest. And that's what these people were getting. And just a reminder, an administrative warrant is something from ICE. It's not from a judge. That's a totally different thing. And that doesn't count. Legal experts have said the memo directly contradicts the 4th Amendment, which prohibits unreasonable search and seizures. Yeah. So I knew something like this was going to happen. More and more people were going to start coming out about this, even though it's the nightmare fuel has kind of died down in Minnesota. They're still pissed. And I don't think they're going to shut up about this anytime in the near future, for sure.
Yeah. It takes a lot for me to get to this point, but I am at the point where I have no regard for ICE. And I believe that, well, let me put it this way before I get myself into any further trouble here. I would not fault any individual or group of individuals resisting any assertion of authority by ICE by any means necessary. That's where I'm at with this. And it really takes a long time to get me at this. I do believe in the need for a constabulary. I do believe in law and order and, and processes and due process and all of this. But so far, I am seeing nothing but a rogue organization that is morphing into a secret police that is going to wreak enormous amounts of havoc. And again, it's like with the EPA. What I'm deeply concerned about is we could see an agency where of course, you have your field agents. Of course, you have, that come out and do investigations, but they are going to be perhaps at some point given a vast number of powers that can be very easily used against the population and or on behalf of special interests. And that concerns me as well. ICE they've done this to themselves. And I hope that as individuals, the ICE agents start suffering the consequences and don't hide behind the veil of working for a government agency. Just as I want to see those behind corporations who behave horribly, like the power companies out in California, whose aging infrastructure and refusal to invest in their infrastructure has resulted in horrific wildfires. I want to see those guys getting actually prosecuted for those decisions and not hiding behind a corporate veil. I want to see individuals being prosecuted and not be hiding behind the veil of government.
Yeah, exactly. And apparently it's not just limited to Minnesota either, obviously. This is what you put in here. A Redditor criticized ICE. Trump is trying to unmask them by dragging the company to a secret grand jury. That's not scary. A secret grand jury doesn't scream, secret police or anything like that. Reddit has been ordered to appear before a grand jury in Washington, D.C. as part of a federal effort to unmask anonymous online critics of the Trump administration's immigration crackdown. I see what they did there. See, unmask, anonymous, and they wear masks. You see, I see what they did there. According to a subpoena obtained by The Intercept, Reddit has until April 14th, that would have been yesterday, to provide a wide range of personal data on one of its users whom U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, aka ICE agents, have been trying unsuccessfully to identify for more than a month. Attorneys for the Reddit user say their client's posts and their anonymity are squarely protected under the First Amendment, and that ICE's use of a grand jury marks a disturbing escalation for the agency after seeing its previous efforts to investigate political speech quashed in court. The subpoena was issued by federal prosecutors in the Capitol after ICE's effort to identify the same user failed in a Northern California federal court. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington declined to comment on the case. Since Trump returned to office last year, federal agents have increasingly demanded social media companies reveal the users behind anonymous accounts critical of his immigration crackdown, expressing particular interest in those that identify employees of the U.S. Border Patrol and ICE, or share real-time information on enforcement activity. The administration claims the accounts are engaged in doxing and endanger office safety. What? Doxing? They're supposed to have identification. That's not doxing. They're public.
They're supposed to have your agents are supposed to have a history and an identity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That's what I always learned. But they've also targeted social media users, seemingly doing nothing more than expressing anger at the government. Digital free speech advocates with the Electronic Frontier Foundation have closely tracked the investigations, finding that the government repeatedly folded when challenged in court. Grand jury subpoena, however, is a much different animal, said David Green, EFF's senior counsel. Shrouded in secrecy and advantageous to prosecutors, the existence of a federal grand jury, particularly one convened in Washington, could suggest the government is moving toward a significant criminal case against anonymous shit talkers. That's what it boils down to. And
I feel so safe. I feel safer already.
And when I say shit talk, I'm not saying that they're actually talking shit. I'm just saying, like, that's just kind of like they're expressing their opinions, right?
Which is supposed to be something we're allowed to do in the U.S.
Exactly. Freedom of speech.
Isn't that why the 9/11 bombers bombed us? Because they hated our freedoms?
They hated our freedom. They hated the fact that
they hated our freedoms.
We could just talk and talk and talk, and then we'd still get arrested. Because then once the Patriot Act came in, that was it. Game over. So Green knew of no examples during the recent wave of immigration enforcement related investigations in which a leading tech company has been called to appear before one of the secret panels. Free speech protections are at their weakest in the context of a grand jury, he explained. The proceedings are not adversarial. Their purpose is to permit a prosecutor to file charges. We should be very, very, very concerned that they've now taken one of these to a grand jury, said Green. It's something to be taken very seriously. The convening of a federal grand jury presents a considerable challenge for Reddit in particular, a platform that prides itself on protecting the free speech rights of its 121 million daily users. The company declined to say whether it intends to challenge the government's order. Privacy is central to how Reddit operates, and we take our commitment to protecting that seriously, the company said in a statement to The Intercept. We do not voluntarily share information with any government, especially not on users exercising their rights to criticize the government or plan a protest. When the government seeks data on users, the statement continued, Reddit reviews the commands for legal sufficiency and routinely objects to requests that are overbroad or threaten civil rights. Users are notified of the request, whenever possible, so they can defend their interests, the company went on to say. And Reddit provides only the minimum data required to satisfy law enforcement demands. Yes. We were talking about the chemicals in the water, used as a fear tactic. This is another thing too. So now they're going to grand juries to try to scare the hell out of people out of not speaking their mind about the government. Is this China? Is this China? Is that what they say? They won't let you talk about the government in China. Well, apparently they're not letting you talk about the government here.
Yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, not what I wanted to see or hear. And you notice there's not a lot of detail here. One of the things, there's a saying that a grand jury will indict a ham sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it goes to the grand jury, it's again, this is not good. This is simply not good. And the way it could open this up to anybody who has provided an opinion on anything, and it may not even necessarily be a situation where I think this is probably a test case. But you have a situation where somebody has expressed opinions on an issue of some controversy or whatnot. The government says, well, we're concerned that this is antisocial speech. This person is exposed, and then they've got 500 trolls going after them.
Yeah.
And it will have a chilling effect on people being able to speak their minds freely. Again, people could lose their employment. They could be subject to harassment. They could be exposed to stalkers, abusers. And if this is allowed to go forward, if this happens, it is going to keep people from speaking their mind online. Now, on one hand, that could force people to talk to people in their communities again, which would be not a bad thing. But again, you remove anonymity at that point. And people may find themselves self-censoring in ways that we really don't need right now.
Yeah, and that's what they want. They want people to self-censor. Shut the hell up. Don't make waves, that kind of thing. Let us keep doing this psycho stuff that we're doing. kind of like cutting food for women, infants, and children, right?
Yeah,
And then,
we value those babies so much.
yeah, until they're born, and then, well, yeah, the White House wants to cut WIC fruit and vegetable benefits by 75%. 75%. This is the Special Supplemental Nutrition Program for Women, Infants, and Children. That's what WIC stands for. Provides minimally processed. Let's see if I can. Here we go. A little bigger. I have 4 eyes. You'd think I'd be able to see this thing. Provides minimally processed healthy foods, personalized nutrition education, breastfeeding support, and referrals to other services for women who are currently pregnant, recently pregnant, breastfeeding, and or with kids under 5 years old. So when the Trump administration states that they want to cut funding from WIC, significantly lowering fruit and vegetable benefits for families, that raises some red flags, which are the flags are fine. It's just the government said you can have flags, propaganda, that sort of thing. Last Friday, the White House released Trump's budget request for fiscal year 2027. The request includes major cuts for WIC recipients. If enacted, monthly fruit and vegetable benefits will go from $52 to $13 for breastfeeding mothers and from $27 to $10 for families with young children. Why does this matter? First, there is ample evidence that WIC has made major healthy changes in children's eating patterns across the nation. Decades of research show that WIC supports more nutritious diets and better health outcomes for children, largely thanks to the fruit and vegetables that the administration is trying to cut from the budget. Eating Well's nutrition editor and registered dietitian Madeline Peck, RDN, CDN, explains, referencing a 2026 report indicating that WIC enhances the nutrition and overall health of low-income families. Other research has shown that families eat healthier when the price of produce is lower, a finding key to a review of 20 observational studies in Annals of Internal Medicine. Fruits and vegetables can unfortunately come at a higher price point than other foods at the grocery store, and WIC is a program aimed to help bridge that gap for pregnant people, mothers, and children under 5 years old, said Jessica Ball, MSRD, Eating Well's senior nutrition editor and a registered dietitian. These are life stages where quality nutrition is crucial for growth and development, and WIC has been proved by the research to be beneficial. Ball adds that expanding access to healthy foods can help improve public health overall. Well, we can't have that. You want healthy people. What's wrong with you? Food access is a major issue in the U.S., and it's a primary contributor to rising prevalence of chronic diseases, Ball shares. Public health and nutrition programs like WIC and SNAP are a proportionally small part of the government budget that offer evidence-backed benefits to the people who use them. Supporting these programs feels more like an ethical decision than a financial one. It is kind of win-win. Congress rejected proposed cuts to WIC in the fiscal year 2026 funding agreement, and the National WIC Association is urging for the same results. One positive from the proposal, as noted in the National WIC Association's release, is the recommended $500 million boost to the WIC contingency fund, which would better position USDA to respond to future government shutdowns or other emergencies. Still, limiting the allowances for food and vegetables will be a choice that works directly against years of research. Cutting fruit and vegetable access from the WIC program goes against all of the quality evidence we have that WIC improves the health of children and access to nutritious foods in low-income communities, Peck said. This unnecessary and nonsensical budget cut will only hurt vulnerable populations. After Congress reviews and modifies this budget proposal, House and Senate votes will take place with agreement needed on all 12 spending bills before the start of the new fiscal year on October 1st. Trump will then have the opportunity to sign or veto the version of the budget that Congress passed. So, yeah, a lot like SNAP, from a financial standpoint, it helps people to buy food, and that helps the grocers sell the food, and then that helps them too. It's win-win-win. You get healthy food, and you're helping the financial process in your community and your local businesses and whatnot. Um, again, this is just mean spirited. Like the article says,
Yeah.
this is just a very tiny fraction of the budget, yet it's being cut. And now we're looking at $1.5 trillion defense budget this year, $2.5 trillion possibly for fiscal year 2027.
Yeah.
Make it make sense.
There's
sure
money
can.
for planes that don't work, but there's
Oh,
no
yeah.
money for carrots that do. Um,
Yeah.
it's this, I remember talking to somebody, and this was probably 30 years ago or so, when she was a young mother. She was poor. They were living on food stamps, and people would harass her for buying fresh fruit with food stamps. And then 10, 15, 20 years now later, we're fighting over whether somebody should be able to buy soda with food stamps. Oh, how dare you have something that is allegedly unhealthy. Now, WIC is an entirely different program. WIC is designed to provide very specific foods: peanut butter, beans, bread, milk, eggs, or milk substitutes, things like that, to meet the needs of very young children, women who are pregnant or breastfeeding. And the idea is that they don't get these nutrients, bad things will happen to them. And providing providing fruit and vegetables is absolutely critical to get those micronutrients into these folks. Also, I would point out that for many children, their eating habits are being formed at that age. And in France, one of the things that they'll do with children and families is they will start a meal with a vegetable salad. And the idea is that if the kids are hungry, they're more likely to eat their vegetables, which are in the form of a salad. They have like a grated carrot salad is very popular with their kids, like carrots. But the idea is they're training the kids to eat vegetables, to enjoy them, to appreciate them, and it can and does work. So the idea of cutting fruits and vegetables has, as you point out, it's mean spirited. It is not about health. It is not, because the administration's own rhetoric says otherwise. And again, I can't help but wonder if this is an attempt to make things more difficult for women who are pregnant, breastfeeding, or raising young children, by denying them the healthy foods that are needed. And could this create a greater level of dependency, say, on a man? Because if you look a lot at the rhetoric, the current misogynistic rhetoric right now, it is social welfare programs, and women's full employment and women's ability to vote is making them less and less dependent on men. If you make things harder and harder for her in a variety of ways, and we've been discussing them today, she may be more likely to seek out a man, whether he is a good man or not, to attach herself to in order to support herself and her kids.
Yeah.
Mighty convenient. This is plain cruelty. This is plain cruelty. This is absolute cruelty.
I find it, well, and you kind of made me think of something there about like these misogynists who are in the Republican Party, who they fear the rise of women. Even though there's more women in this country than there are men, they fear the rise of women, and they fear the rise of non-white people overcoming white numbers. Right? Yeah. It's this whole just these paranoid, delusional people who think, okay, white man control everything good. And it's like, no, it's these are people who are afraid of change at the very least, and who just want to terrify people to keep control. Probably that's probably more accurate, to try to control things by fear like that. And you were talking about, how this is very important for children. Nutrition in Gaza for the children there is critical too. And so there's another flotilla that's going to be taking place. And Hamas, the resistance in Palestine there too, in Gaza, hails activists taking part in Gaza flotilla to break Israeli siege. So this is going to be an even bigger one this time. Let's see. The Palestinian resistance movement Hamas has expressed its appreciation for participants in the second mission of the global Samud flotilla, praising their efforts to break the Israeli blockade on the besieged Gaza Strip. In a statement on Monday evening, the group described the initiative as an expression of commitment to the values of justice and humanity and resolute opposition to the unjust blockade imposed on more than 2 million Palestinians. And that's the thing to remind people. There is a blockade in Gaza to keep people from bringing food and medicines and water to the people of Gaza. The movement said the flotilla underscores the legitimacy of the Palestinian cause and the right of Palestinians to live with dignity. The participation of nearly 1,000 volunteer activists from dozens of countries and their defiance of Israeli measures underscores the failure of deterrence policies to halt attempts to break the blockade, the statement said. Hamas also called on the international community, the UN, and its institutions to provide protection for the flotilla and to prevent any interception by Israeli forces. The Barcelona-based fleet, which last sailed in September last year with 42 boats and 462 participants, set sail again, what's today, 15, 14, 13, 12, on Sunday, April 12th, with nearly double the scale, around 70 boats, carrying close to 1,000 volunteers from 70 countries. Flotilla spokesperson Pablo Castilla said the mission aims to condemn international complicity in what is happening in Gaza, demand accountability, and open a humanitarian corridor by sea and land. Formed in 2025 by NGOs, activists, and volunteers from multiple countries, the Samud Flotilla launched its second mission from the port of Barcelona toward the Gaza Strip this past Sunday. Separately, around 20 French boats departed Marseille, or Marseille. Is that Marseille or Marseille? On Saturday in a parallel show of solidarity with Gaza. I always get that wrong, but then again, I'm not very.
Yeah, I always get it wrong too. So.
I'm not very French. Sacre bleu. Cheered by roughly 1,000 supporters gathered at the docks, the small sailing vessels departed amid chants of Gaza. Marseille, I'm going to say Marseille, is with you, marking a growing multinational effort. The vessels are expected to link up with the wider global Samud flotilla, which is projected to bring together around 100 boats from across the Mediterranean in the coming days. There's more to it there. You can check out those in the show notes if you want to read the rest of that article. But basically, the gist of it is these flotillas are going to keep coming, I think. The last one, people were allegedly tortured while after being taken off some of these boats. But the mission is clear that the people in Gaza need this food. They need the help because Israel is punishing them all collectively because of Hamas, a group that Israel themselves actually created. It's not funny. Ha ha. It's funny. It's not funny. We'll just put it that way. So, I don't know. I would like to see a more, heartier, invasion of help, for lack of a better term. But, it's better than nothing. And it's good to see people out there, who they don't give up. They just keep trying to help these poor people in Gaza.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we're going to stay in the Middle East as we can find the thing. We talked, get to our man of war stings. Everybody talking about Iran. This thing that's going on in the Strait of Hormuz, it is just, it's getting crazy. No, I mean it was Looney Tunes before, but now it's like we're in Nurse Ratched territory now.
We're going to unblock the Strait of Hormuz by blocking it.
So just to kind of a quick catch you up kind of thing. So the Strait of Hormuz being controlled by Iran right now. The United States has a naval blockade blocking the ports of Iran, and Iran has turned around and blocked all the ports in the Gulf region. There's a lot of blocking going on. And now Iran threatens to block Gulf and the Red Sea trade routes. if U.S. naval blockade persists. This will probably tell you in the article, but so 20% of the energy comes through the Strait of Hormuz, but 75% comes through the Red Sea. And and so Yemen has been kind of, being the sheriff down there for the Red Sea. Iran has warned that it could block trade routes through the Persian Gulf, the Sea of Oman, and the Red Sea if the U.S. continues its reported naval blockade of Iranian ports. According to Al Jazeera, Iran's military said it would not allow exports or imports to continue through the region's major waterways, plural, if restrictions on Iranian shipping remain in place. In a statement carried by Iranian state television, the head of the Khatam al-Anbiya Central Headquarters, Iran's top joint military command, said the continued U.S. naval blockade of all Iranian ports constitutes a violation of the ceasefire. Our armed forces will not allow trade to flow through the Red Sea if the naval blockade continues. We will not allow any exports or imports in the Gulf and the Sea of Oman if the American blockade continues, the commander said. The statement added that if the U.S. maintains a blockade, this will be a prelude to violating the ceasefire. Iran's military further warned that any action by the U.S. that creates insecurity for Iranian commercial vessels and oil tankers could prompt retaliatory measures. The semi-official Mehr news agency quoted Major General Ali Abdullahi of the Khatam al-Anbiya Central Headquarters is saying, if the aggressive and terrorist America continues its unlawful actions of maritime blockade in the region and creates insecurity for Iranian commercial ships and oil tankers, this action will be considered a prelude to violating the ceasefire. He said, the powerful armed forces of Iran will not allow any kind of export and import to continue in the Persian Gulf, the Sea of Oman, or the Red Sea. Iran will act with full force to defend its national sovereignty and interests, he said. The warning comes as the Washington Post reported, citing unnamed American officials, that the U.S. is preparing to send thousands of additional troops to the Middle East in the coming days. Probably should have put that in the clownfish session for
At
as
this
far
point,
as the U.S.
I'm beginning to feel like the entire ocean is collapsing on itself with all this, because it's hard to decide which segment it belongs in.
Yeah. Well, it's what's going on is the fact of the matter is that that the United States and Israel really extremely underestimated what Iran had been preparing for, which they've been preparing for almost 50 years.
Yes.
They knew this was coming. So, and so you cut off the head, another one grows. You cut off that head, another one grows. It doesn't matter. You're not going to have a ground invasion of Iran because it's too mountainous, and it's just way, it's way
big.
You can't, and it's a huge country too.
Yeah.
So now, as the scholars say, the United States is in a real shit pickle, and it just seems like Trump, as usual, is doubling down on stupidity.
That's all he's got.
Yeah, I guess so. Okay, I guess you have to go with your talents, right? And he has a talent for being stupid, stupidity. So, well, part of the mix, of course, is Israel. And one of the key things that Iran in their 10-point plan wanted was a ceasefire for everybody, including Lebanon. But of course, Israel is like, what? Us stop killing people? You're funny. But apparently
you're playing to our strengths.
Yeah, exactly.
Israel's very good at killing people.
They're very good at killing people. And but apparently they're in talks with Lebanon here in the United States, as U.S. Lebanon direct talks happen here. Let's check out what to know. So I'll just kind of blow through this. The ambassadors Lebanon and Israel were in the U.S. With Lebanese authorities seeking to secure a ceasefire while Israel wants to disarm Hezbollah. So this is the first bilateral engagement between the two nations since '93. So there's been back and forth, of course, of they've killed many Hezbollah leaders. So, okay, so this happens yesterday at the U.S. State Department in Washington, and it'd be let's see. So we had the Lebanese ambassador. I'm not going to try and butcher these names. Well, actually, I'll butcher it. That's fine. Nada Hamadeh, Lebanese ambassador to the U.S. Yaishel Leiter, Israeli ambassador to the U.S. Marco Rubio, of course, he's Aquaman, the Secretary of State. You know, I call him Aquaman because of the speech. Remember, he was drinking the water. That's a little more an extra inside joke there. Michael Issa, U.S. ambassador to Lebanon, acting as a facilitator, and Michael, that's Michelle. So I think that's Michelle. Michael Needham, State Department counselor. So the U.S. brokered the talks, with the State Department framing the meeting as a necessary response to Hezbollah's reckless actions, quote unquote. A U.S. official stressed that Israel is at war with Hezbollah, not Lebanon, so there is no reason the two neighbors should not be talking. The diplomats' push follows an intense escalation in violence, with Israel accused of targeting civilian areas across Lebanon. Hezbollah has also been firing rockets at Israel, and its fighters have been battling Israeli ground troops in the country's south. Primary points of the discussion include securing a ceasefire, disarming Hezbollah, and exploring a broader peace arrangement. However, the two sides approach the agenda from vastly different starting points. So what does Israel want? They want a long-term, intensive Israeli military presence that would remain until Hezbollah is fully dismantled. Israeli forces would continue operations, but gradually hand control to the Lebanese army. The Lebanese army would assume sole responsibility for disarming Hezbollah. The Lebanese government, Beirut, views the Washington talks strictly as a preliminary meeting to secure a pause in military activity, according to Lebanese Culture Minister Ghassan Salami, or Salameh, I think that's how it is. Salameh acknowledged to Al Jazeera that Lebanon lacks significant leverage, but stressed that the government is attempting to reassert state authority and separate the Lebanese file from the Iranian track regarding Israel's demand to disarm Hezbollah. Salameh cautioned that such a process takes time and cannot be achieved in a matter of days. There's more to it here. So why has Hezbollah rejected the talks? Hezbollah's views negotiating while Lebanon is being bombarded as akin to signing a document of surrender. You cannot conduct negotiations to stop the fighting if you are under fire and under pressure. Yeah, Ali al-Miqdad, a Hezbollah member of the Lebanese parliament, told Al Jazeera, lack of national consensus. Most of the people are behind Hezbollah, basically. The disarmament demand Hezbollah maintains, they're not going to disarm until there's a complete Israeli withdrawal. There's more here. Again, you can look at that in our show notes if you want more of the deets, as the kids say. But basically, just as a quick primer, Hezbollah and the Lebanese government are two separate entities. You have the Lebanese government, but Hezbollah is more of like the freedom fighters of they're kind of like the Hamas of Lebanon, right? They're the ones who are trying to stop Israeli incursions into the country. And of course, that they've been in the thorn of the side not only of Israel, but also the Lebanese government, who didn't even want to be a part of the Iranian peace talks. When they said we want ceasefire for everybody, including Lebanon, the Lebanese government themselves said, no, we can handle our own business. All right, we don't need you. And it's just, they're trying to curry favor with Israel, and it's like, that ain't gonna happen, boss. But at least they came to talk, and they talked, and I guess they didn't leave with a ceasefire. They didn't really leave with anything. They just talked. Yeah. It's kind of, when you follow what's going on with Hezbollah there, they're right. As soon as they disarm, Israel is just going to overrun Lebanon, the entire country, because they're the only ones who's actually keeping Israel from invading totally like that, and have been pushing them back pretty consistently. Yeah. So we told you about the closures there. Iran said, we'll shut it all down, mister. We don't care. So the USS George Herbert Walker Bush is en route to West Asia, but avoids the Red Sea in fear of Yemeni attacks. What? I thought we were the greatest military power on the planet, and you scared of some people in Yemen? What? So the USS Bush, giggity, is bypassing the Red Sea as it heads to West Asia to join U.S. naval forces in the Arabian Sea as Washington moves to enforce a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz following a collapse of talks with Iran. The carrier deployed at the end of March avoided the usual Mediterranean route and instead sailed around the African continent alongside escort vessels USS Donald Cook, the USS Mason, and USS Ross, according to the USNI news and military officials. U.S. officials said the ship was rerouted around Africa to bypass the Red Sea and Bab al-Mandab, but did not publicly specify the reason for this shift. The rerouting, I wonder why. We're scared. The rerouting comes after Ansarallah leader Abdul Malik al-Houthi warned that Yemen's operations are on an escalating trajectory, describing them as part of a well-studied plan aimed at preventing the Israeli and American enemy from using the Red Sea militarily in hostile actions against Iran and the Axis countries. The redeployment follows Washington's decision to impose a blockade on Iranian ports after negotiations between the U.S. and Iran went poopies. CENTCOM said the operation would target vessels entering or departing Iranian ports. Yeah, we already know that. But basically, the long and short of this is last time the United States dealt with Yemen, Yemen just tore them up. And they basically said, all right, we'll stop trying to blow you up if you stop trying to blow us up. A small country like Yemen basically just put their hand in the face of the United States and said, you go away now. You go away now. So that's why they're trying to avoid this, because they know they're going to get their ass blown up.
Yeah. We've stepped in it. I was just listening to a podcast yesterday, and one of the things they were pointing out was that, these major weapons systems that we have and all that, they're not working terribly well, and that the future, by the way, of warfare is likely going to be drones and cyber attacks. And so all of these shows of might and everything, it is all for show. We're clearly running scared at this point. And we're watching the end of the American empire, which I think is on the whole a good thing, but it's going to hurt very badly.
Yeah, and things didn't have to end this way for the United States too. No,
we didn't have to end this way at all. We didn't have to.
Greed and hubris. It was greed and hubris that got us to this point, and it's going to be greed and hubris that's going to end it for us too. And you're right. I mean, the United States looks at their military with 20th century eyes, right? They think might is right. We got like a big ass army, big ass navy. We could just outmuscle anybody.
No, it's not that at all. And I think that they know this. I think that they, on one hand, that they know this, and they're finding people to keep the distractions up while they figure out what the new order is going to look like. But right now, human beings are suffering.
Well, I mean, they learned this back in Vietnam that they couldn't do it.
Well, they did. And the weird thing is, I remember, the 1976, there was a big rally for patriotism because of the defeat of Vietnam and the craziness of the 60s and all that. We had high gas prices. The American morale was in the toilet, and they were trying to prop it up. And there was a time there where maybe things were looking better. Maybe it was back and forth. And then we had all this great, this new technology that came in, a lot of changes, and here we are.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what you're seeing, like in these smaller countries that don't have these huge armies or huge militaries. They use their brains. They use cyber attacks, like you said. Some of these countries maybe only have drones, but the drones seem to be working fairly well in terrorism. Yeah. And well, yeah, I mean, that's what they have to do. They have to
Yeah.
go in and disrupt things they have to bring fear to these giant countries like this. And it sure as hell worked. They're going around the Cape of Good Hope down there instead of going through the Mediterranean. I don't care what Trump says, how much we're winning or not. The United States is not winning anything in this. And here's a perfect example of how they're not winning. GOP senator says, more important than your pocketbook. That's he's talking about the Iran war. Yeah. What is it? Short-term pain, long-term gain. That's what they seem to be pushing these days.
Well, at least members of Congress, they seem to love that insider trading.
Yeah. Yeah, they love that. A Republican senator yesterday tried to sell wary Americans on Trump's war with Iran by telling them that national security is more important than any financial pain they're feeling in the form of higher energy costs, right? This is the classic propaganda trope. You must sacrifice for the country. During an appearance on Newsmax's Wake Up America program, Senator Roger Marshall, Republican out of Kansas, tried to assuage Americans' concerns about the spike in gas prices caused by the war by informing viewers that the U.S. is the leading producer of oil in the world. We're exporting more than we're importing. You're not helping yourself there, bud. The U.S. exporting more of its own oil to foreign countries whose regular supplies have been disrupted by the closure of the Strait of Hormuz does nothing to lower U.S. gas prices, and if anything, will push them higher. Exactly. As a Monday Wall Street Journal article explained, prices at the pump are poised to keep rising if the U.S. exports more oil and gas and drains its inventories, especially since the jump in exports doesn't yet correspond to an increase in U.S. oil production. Later in the segment, Marshall acknowledged that Americans were feeling pain at the gas pump, but he said it was worth it. He's not feeling pain at the gas pumps. He has people driving him around everywhere. But he said it was worth it to stop the supposed threat from Iran, which did not attack the U.S. and, according to U.S. intelligence estimates, was not close to producing nuclear weapons. We're only 2 weeks away from Iran getting a nuclear weapon, they've been saying since the 1980s. He said, I'm sorry that gas prices are going up, but help is on the way, and your national security, yes, is even more important than your pocketbook. I wonder how much people voting for someone else is more important than reelecting this asshole. Marshall's claims about the Iran war being worth the cost came days after Harvard Kennedy School professor Linda Bilmes, an expert in war budgeting, estimated the total cost of the conflict would top $1 trillion. Sorry, I had to do my Dr. Evil thing with the pinky. $1 trillion. And that's not even part of that's just that war alone. And then they want the $1.5 trillion for the military budget too. Yeah. Criminal defense attorney Sarah Specter pounced on Marshall's comments as symbolic of Republicans' tone deafness to Americans' economic concerns. Octogenarians are door dashing. We'll tell you about that hopefully here in a moment to pay for medical bills, she remarked. And Senator Marshall wants you to pay for a war while Donald Trump golfs and attends VIP sporting events. Yeah. And while he gets driven around too, and he doesn't have to worry about gas. Fred Wellman, a Democratic candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives in Missouri, noted that the GOP-run Congress isn't even having hearings where elected representatives can ask Trump administration officials about the war. People in the U.S. are literally skipping meals, and the Republican Congress won't even hold a hearing about this unplanned, disastrous war, Wellman wrote. No, we won't accept any more assurances or urges to sacrifice for the greater good when the leaders won't even respect us enough to go under oath and tell us why. Well, that's part of the propaganda. We can't tell you the truth, silly beans. What's wrong with you? Jennifer Schultz, a former local TV news executive, pointed out that the claims about the Iran war being essential to U.S. security were totally false. Iran was not, quote, Iran was not one, close to having a nuclear weapon, two, posing an imminent threat to the United States, she wrote. John Bauman, president of the Social Security Works PAC, said Marshall's claim that high gas prices are worth the cost of launching an unprovoked war with Iran was a losing argument. He's nicer than me. I was saying that's some bullshit. That's bullshit. But that's what they do, man. They want you, they did the whole thing on all the news shows, you know, short-term pain, long-term gain, short-term pain. And it's like, well, how long is the short term there, boss? Because that's what people are worried about right now, the short term and what the hell is going on. Right. They never attacked. They never were planning to attack. And Marco Rubio said the only reason we attacked them is because Israel was going to attack Iran, and we knew Iran was going to attack us too. So, yeah, it's put on your hip waders. It's a lot.
We're cutting fruits and vegetables from children's diets, though, including those unborn children that you all love so much.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't have money for veggies.
No, God, no. We need to turn those veggies into bombs. What's wrong with you? You know, I told people on my show last Friday that the Pentagon had been threatening the Pope, of all people, right?
Yeah.
So now Trump is shitting on the Pope too, because the Pope apparently likes peace and doesn't like dumbass wars like this. So Pope Leo says, I have no fear of the Trump administration after President blasts Pontiff. Well, he's from Chicago too. He probably doesn't have a fear of people anyway.
There's something else there too, and we'll talk about in a second.
So Pope Leo the 14th fired back at President Trump on Monday, a day after Trump blasted the Catholic Pontiff on Truth Social for criticizing the U.S. war against Iran and for military action against Venezuela. I have no fear of the Trump administration, Leo told reporters before boarding flight to begin a 10-day tour to 4 African countries. Well, he has a Pope mobile too. That's bulletproof. So, you know, he could probably just like, come on, bitch, come on, let's go. I will continue to speak out loudly against war, looking to promote peace, promoting dialogue and multilateral relationships among the states to look for just solutions to problems, said Leo, who was born in the U.S., of course, Chicago. Well, I don't know if he was born here, but he's from here, right? He added that he doesn't want to get into a debate with Trump, who took credit for Leo's election as Pope. Of course he did. And that he does not look at his role as being political. Too many people are suffering in the world today, Leo said. Too many innocent people are being killed. And I think someone has to stand up and say there's a better way. Trump on Sunday bashed Leo in a scathing Truth Social post shortly before posting an image that appeared to depict Trump as Jesus tending to a sick man. Yes, I think we've all seen that.
Yeah, I did not want to believe it.
He said, I do not. He goes, and I don't want a Pope who criticizes the president of the United States because I'm doing exactly what I was elected in a landslide to do. Trump wrote on Truth Social, which of course is bullshit. He said he was going to bring down inflation and no more wars. And well, guess what? None of those things happen. I don't want a Pope who thinks it's okay for Iran to have a nuclear weapon. He wrote, or somebody wrote for him. I don't want a Pope who thinks it's terrible that America attacked Venezuela. You know, I don't like Pope on a rope. You know, I like soap on a rope. Trump also said Leo should be thankful because, as everyone knows, he was a shocking surprise. He wasn't on any list to be Pope and was only put there by the church because he was an American and they thought that would be the best way to deal with Donald J. Trump. Speaking to himself as third person. If I wasn't in the White House, Leo wouldn't be in the Vatican. So here you go. When you're going after the Pope, you know you done stepped in it.
Okay.
And as far as he did take down the Jesus picture. He told people, he said, oh no, that wasn't supposed to be Jesus. I was a doctor. Right.
Yeah,
do doctors wear Jesus clothes and have glowing hands? Maybe Dr. Strange from Marvel. Like that. Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay. I got just a couple of things here to say about this, Uncle Warren. Okay, first of all, I think we need to keep in mind that Trump has had a hard-on for Chicago for a long time, and this is going before he was even elected president. He was supposed to have a rally at University of Illinois, Chicago, at their arena. Chicagoans protested. Now, campus police said we can handle it. Chicago Police Department said, yeah, we can handle it. The Chicago Police Department is very used to dealing with this kind of protests and that sort of thing. Trump, last minute, amscrayed, chickened out, and didn't go. And everybody thought this was incredibly funny. And I do believe that he has held that against Chicago for a long time. And so the fact that you have a Chicago area pope who's coming out against, his policies is really, really addling him. I'm also going to say this. When you look at the Catholic community right now, it's fracturing in a variety of places. And there are a whole lot of people who feel that Vatican II was too modern and modernized the church, and that any pope since Vatican II is not a legitimate pope. So that's one thing to consider. And others are talking about breaking off, just saying that the church has gone far too left-wing. So what this is likely to do is to further divide the Catholics, and particularly in the United States. We've seen this happening with evangelicals. We've seen the attempt to divide this country along ideological lines and then further fracture them. There are a whole lot of people who are, shall we say, left-wing or apolitical, who are into natural health, but they're also making the crunchy conservatives. They're appealing to them. So you've got these folks splitting off. This is part of the tactic, and it is concerning to see this happen. And people, I think, do need to be mindful of how this works. Also, the Pentagon had pretty much openly insulted Catholics when they were having a Good Friday services. They made it clear that the Good Friday services would not be Catholic. They would be Protestant. And that point was also made. So I think that this is an attempt you have conservatives, some extreme conservatives in this country, but we're seeing factions there between extremist Catholics and everyday Catholics, as well, of course, as evangelicals and regular Protestants. So this is happening all over, and there is a religious context to this, which I think we need to be paying attention to.
And as always, it's easier to control people when you divide them, right? And this just is another example of that. It's very clownfish. We're running a little bit low on time, so we're going to get to the clownfish school here. And speaking of Trumpy, had the DoorDash grandma. Remember her?
Yeah.
So DoorDash grandma reveals tragic reasons she's forced to deliver food during golden years. That was one of the things he was talking about, the no tax on tips things, but he really didn't understand that having an older person doing DoorDash on display there, it was just basically saying, yeah, our economy sucks. You're going to be working till you're dead, folks. A grandmother who participated in a staged DoorDash delivery of McDonald's food to President Trump at the Oval Office on Monday said she is forced to work as a delivery driver in her advanced age to help pay for her husband's cancer treatment. In the richest country that's ever existed, she's got to do DoorDash to help her husband's pay for her cancer treatment, his cancer treatment. Sharon Simmons' appearance at the White House came as an attempt to highlight a part of the Trump-supported spending package last summer that allows Americans to temporarily deduct some federal taxes from income earned on tips. See, that's not even crumbs. That's like dust. The Arkansas grandmother said the change meant she received $11,000 that she otherwise would not have gotten. But some social media users were quick to criticize the interaction as a blunder by the Trump administration, one of many, exposing the severity of medical costs and its impacting on people like Simmons, who they said should be spending time at home with her husband and grandchildren instead of delivering food. Who thought it would be a good visual to show a literal grandmother who still has to do gig labor to pay for her husband's cancer treatment? One user on the tweeters wrote in response to a photograph of Simmons handing 2 bags of McDonald's to Trump. I'd like to live in a country where a grandma doesn't have to work as a DoorDash driver to pay for her husband's cancer treatment, another said. And there's the photo op right there. Low-income households that earn below specific thresholds are not required to pay federal taxes. The no tax on tips provision in Republicans' massive tax and spending law signed by Trump last July eliminates federal income taxes on tips for people working in jobs that have traditionally received them and allows certain workers to deduct up to $25,000 in qualified tips per year from 2025 through 2028. The deduction phases out for taxpayers with a modified adjusted gross income over $150,000, according to the AP. To qualify as a tip, the tips must be earned in an occupation on the Treasury's list of qualified occupations. Among the jobs exempted from tax on tips are sommeliers. Ooh,
Wine stewards.
They
They pair your wines with your food.
We need fancy music for this show. Cocktail waiters, pastry chefs, I almost said pant chefs, cake bakers, bingo workers, club dancers, DJs, clowns. So that must mean Congress doesn't pay any taxes. Podcasters, influencers, online video creators, ushers, maids, gardeners, electricians, and a whole slew of other ones there. And basically, but the whole gist of it is grandma's got to do this because because our country sucks.
Yeah.
In a big way, and we can't even take care of our own people. But
no,
we can.
There are.
It's like Tupac
people,
said, we got money for war, but we can't feed the poor, or we can't take care of their cancer. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just saying, old folks, do oftentimes take jobs because they want to get out. They want to be out in the community. They enjoy this sort of thing. And then that's great. But when you find out that this lady is doing this because she's got to pay for her husband's cancer treatments because, whatever insurance, the, Medicare or whatnot, doesn't cover all the expenses. Yeah.
It's yeah. I mean, I don't think he meant to show that how shitty our country is in that respect. But Trump accidentally reveals a whole lot of shit about how our country really is. If you want to give him some attaboys, you can give him an attaboy for accidentally, exposing how shitty our country is.
Showing our ass to the rest of the world. Yeah.
Yeah, we told you earlier about Iran and how they're pretty much kind of kicking ass. They've been putting out some hella good like Lego style AI videos, basically just making fun of
they're awesome.
Trump and the military. Yeah, there's one I can't remember. There's one that's specifically for Pete Hegseth, and it's pretty brutal. But YouTube said, wait, what? We can't have that. Iran slams YouTube ban on pro-Iranian groups' Lego-style AI videos. So Iran has condemned a ban imposed by YouTube on a pro-Iranian group that releases Lego-style artificial intelligence videos after posting one lampooning Trump and declaring Iran won last week. Explosive Media said on Twitter last week that YouTube suspended its account for, quote, violent content, quote, while the group's other online accounts appeared unaffected. Seriously, are our Lego-style animations actually violent? Explosive Media asked in its post on Friday. Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesman Ismail Bagai said the ban was a move to suppress the truth about the U.S.'s war on Iran. In a land that proudly hosts Pixar, DreamWorks Animation, and the Walt Disney Company, an independent animated YouTube channel which had organically grown by depicting U.S. aggression and warmongering and garnered millions of views, was abruptly shut down. Why? He posted on Twitter. The guy added, simply to suppress the truth about their illegal war on Iran and shield the American administration's false narrative from any competing voice. So if you haven't seen these, there's Explosive Media, a group of pro-Iran creators, describes itself as independent, but is widely suspected of having ties to the Iranian government, has produced a series of such videos that have racked up millions of views during the conflict. The way to crush imperialism has been shown to the world. Trump surrendered. Iran won. Read the caption of its video on Twitter after the 2-week ceasefire agreement was announced on April 7th. Taco will always remain taco, it added, referring to the acronym Trump always chickens out. Another clip depicted Trump caricatured with an oversized yellow head and a flaming backside, holding a sign that read, "Victory, I am a loser." Explosive Media, whose videos often tap into U.S. pop culture, seems to be portraying Trump as old, isolated, and prone to childish tantrums, seemingly disconnected from reality. And that sounds about right. I mean, it seems like they're pretty spot on about that. The good news is about this is that while that particular channel has gone down, the genie's out of the bottle.
Yeah.
It's already too late. And all you have to do is go on YouTube and search Lego Iran, and you're gonna get a ton of videos, all from a whole bunch of different channels, right? And like they said, that maybe Explosive Media is not directly related to the Iranian government, but it could be very sympathetic to it. And with actions that have been going on since at least, well, probably since October 2023, there's been a lot more sympathy for people in Gaza, people in the West Bank, and now people in Iran who, like we said, they didn't attack us. There was nothing like that. We attacked them. And you get what you get is basically, you serve it up, it's going to get knocked down.
And, I would, point out that Trump at one point had shared a video of him dumping fecal matter on protesters. Talk about, contaminating the groundwater. And apparently
right.
that is not violent enough. So here we are. I think Iran's doing some fun stuff. And, I will say one thing. They keep on talking about, the Pope. Oh, he's saying the Pope is comfortable with Iran having nuclear weapons, that, we have to keep them from getting nuclear weapons. I would remind everybody that only one country has ever attacked another country with nuclear weapons. Do you know what country that was?
I'm going to go with Guam. No, it wasn't Guam. Antarctica? Oh, you mean the United States? Yeah.
Projection, thou art a jewel.
If you listen to some people, though, they want to repeat history. That Mark Levin guy, he's talking about like, well, if they don't surrender, we should nuke them. I'm like, all right, let's nuke you first and see how you like it. But, we always thought, well, okay, I don't think we're going to go to a nuclear war. It's possible, but it doesn't seem probable. Now the shit seems probable with psychopaths like this in our government. So
we're going to talk about that. Maybe next week we'll talk about that.
Oh, yeah. The psychopaths in our government.
Yeah.
Yes. We should have a whole show about that. Finally, depending on your pronunciation. I like world records, and I like stupid world records a lot. I don't know why. I just don't have much of a life, but I wanted to share this with everybody to end the show on a happy note. Especially if you're into dinosaurs, the university breaks world record with 682 people in dinosaur costumes. They ain't going extinct anytime soon, that's for sure. Have you ever worn one of those? You ever worn one of those like T-Rex blow up things?
I have not. No.
Well, Lainey, that should be your new. That could be your new fashion project right there. Could be Lainey you could be a Laney-saurus.
I could.
I think this
Tyrannosaurus Laney.
With the little hands.
L-Rex. I mean the L-Rex.
L-Rex. There you go.
L-Rex.
Of course, this is in Canada. And Alberta University broke a Guinness World Record by gathering 682 people in dinosaur costumes at the school's 60th anniversary celebration. University of Calgary, whose sports teams are known as the Dinos, gathered people dressed as various dinosaurs Saturday outside the Taylor Family Digital Library. The gathering of 682 dinos broke the Guinness World Record for the largest gathering of people dressed as dinosaurs. I didn't know if somebody had actually done this before, which was previously set by 468 people at the Cox Science Center and Aquarium in West Palm Beach, Florida last year. Okay, that makes sense. It's in Florida. Of course, you're going to have some dinosaurs there too. There's all kinds of dinosaurs in Florida, especially those snowbirds.
And all that reptilian thing going on with that skin there.
I know, right? They got the crocodile, they got the alligators down there too. The old record is extinct. Ed McCauley, Calgary's president and vice chancellor, was quoted as saying by the Calgary Herald, "This is just a great example of the University of Calgary and our Calgary community coming together to set a world record. A Guinness World Records adjudicator was on hand to verify the record had officially been broken." How'd you like to work for Guinness and just go to these places and just verify world records for these bizarre things, like how many ants you can balance on a ice cream stick or some ridiculousness like that?
I remember when I was a kid, the Guinness Book of World Records came out and was sold by Scholastic. And you remember the Scholastic book flyers that we would get, and you could get books for cheap. But it was more expensive. It was something like $2 or $2.50 or something like that. So my parents would only pay for one every other year. But that was fun because it was a wonderful thing to read. It was a lot of fun. And it was cool.
I remember those. Yeah. You'd get stuff during the summertime, right? With all these fun little activities and stuff in there too.
Yeah, they had a little newsletter. They eventually had their own magazines. They still have them. I mean, they still have the books on. I think it's a great idea. You make cheaper copies so that kids can have books at home and make them affordable. Pretty awesome to me.
But not in America. What's wrong with you? We can't have affordable things here unless it's we're paying for the military, something like that. Wait, I said that out loud? I didn't mean to. Lainey, we got to get out of here, but before we do, let's remind people that we'll be back next week, same bat time, same bat channel, and tentatively, I always say tentatively because I don't trust people at all, maybe a little bit. Our buddy Willie Bragg is going to be joining us.
That'd be awesome. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to having Willie on the show.
That's right. He's going to be broadcasting live from Pilot Mountain, aka Titty Mountain. No, I'm kidding. He's not going to be from there. But that's around his neck of the woods, though. There in North. He's near. He's kind of near Andy Griffith territory in North Carolina, where he's at. So
Mayberry. Oh, right.
Yeah, he said there's a whole town there that does the whole Mayberry thing and everything. So it's a pretty cool thing. But yeah, we'll have him next week. Of course, the show's at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time on YouTube and Rumble and Facebook. And we'll have Substack too, with the Substack show notes in there as well. I'll be back solo on Friday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific time on same channels, YouTube, Rumble, Facebook, and Substack for Morning Extra. And of course, the secret show that night at 11 p.m. Eastern on those channels, except for Substack. We don't do the silly stuff on Substack because we try to be prim and proper on there. So, what you got going on? Any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Looking forward to having Willie on the show next week. I think it's going to be a good time. Want to thank everybody. We are seeing our YouTube channel is growing. Partly, I think Uncle Warren's been working really hard on the shorts, the clips, and that's been doing a lot for us. Yeah. And I'm thinking at 100, we should have a party of some kind. Maybe we'll do a trivia night, have a little contesting with some prizes or something like that. Let's be thinking, Uncle Warren, about some way to celebrate and share with these good folks who've been supporting us so much.
I'll be drinking bathtub gin because I tend to do that to prep for the show every morning. No, we should do that. Yeah, and I appreciate we do appreciate everybody. Yeah, we're up to 85 subs.
Yeah,
on our channel. So and our links down below there if you want to subscribe to if you're watching this on another channel, if you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel, please do. We appreciate it. Thanks everybody here today that were with us in the chat. If you're watching this in the future, we appreciate your support as well. We will see you next week. Have a great rest of your week. Stay frosty and
hate ice.
time. Yes, please do. Peace.
Peace.